My name is John Malcolm, and I am currently a vice president of the Institute for Constitutional Government, and I'm also the director of the Meese Center and Simon Center at the Heritage Foundation. I think the most pressing issue is dealing with spikes in crime that are occurring in many major urban areas that are caused, at least in my opinion, in large part by the defund the police movement and also by the so-called progressive prosecutor movement. There was a slight dip in crime this past year, but crime statistics are way above the levels that were seen towards the end of the last decade when crime rates were nearing a 30-year low. Experienced police officers are leaving the force in droves. Recruitment is a real problem. And I think that many of the policies that have been implemented by these progressive prosecutors have harmed public safety and led to a mass exodus from some of these cities and reduced economic opportunities and quality of life for the people who are forced to remain. And until that is addressed, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for a lot of bipartisan criminal justice reform efforts. Early in my career, I was very fortunate to be part of the prosecution team that prosecuted an individual named Walter Leroy Moody Jr., who had sent a series of pipe bombs that killed an 11th Circuit judge, Robert Vance, and a civil rights worker in Savannah named Robbie Robinson. I was also part of the leadership position in the criminal division at the Justice Department, both on and after 9/11. And I was therefore part of the effort to respond to that tragedy, to make sure that those who perpetrated these atrocities were brought to justice, and also to prevent another terrorist attack from occurring on our shores. One is that I have very eclectic tastes in music. I love country music, and I also love opera. I'm on the board of the Washington National Opera. I also have a bit of an adventurous side. I was once in a ring with a baby bull. I've gone skydiving. I went bungee jumping over Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. I've also gone diving with great white sharks in South Africa. I've had a very, very varied legal career, of which I'm quite proud. I've served in all three branches of the federal government as both a career attorney and a political appointee. I worked for a large law firm, and I started my own law firm. I've been a law professor at 2 different law schools. I worked for a number of years in the movie industry, fighting film piracy around the world. I've worked in a leadership position, which is what I do now, at a major public policy organization. I've also served in leadership positions in various bar organizations, including I currently serve on the board of directors of the Legal Services Corporation, which provides funding to a myriad of organizations that provide high-quality civil legal aid to indigent people. I've served on the board of directors of a lot of artistic and charitable organizations, and I'm also very proud that I've done my part in various capacities to help advance the conservative legal movement, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. And so, for instance, when I was in the movie industry, I was the worldwide anti-piracy director for what was then the Motion Picture Association of America. It's now just the Motion Picture Association. And I traveled around the world, some 40 some odd countries, and trying to convince people in some of these countries that copyright theft is a real danger that does harm to creative people. It was a bit of a hard sell. I was in a number of countries, for instance, where they said, look, we have 40% unemployment, people will engage in all manner of illegal activity. We view this as being relatively harmless and almost as a social pressure release valve. Getting people to get prosecuted in some of those countries was really, really tough, particularly in many, many countries where corruption was rampant, including among prosecutors and the judiciary. It made me have a great deal of respect for the rule of law in this country. Do we have it perfect? No, we do not, but it's a whole lot better than it is in a lot of other countries.